In 2005, when I was a frequent blogger on LiveJournal, my friend Jillian asked the question, if you could take one memory with you to heaven, what would it be? This is what I wrote. The one memory I'd take with me to heaven is when I was a kid and in my Lola's house. It was winter break when I was still going to Pinecrest Elementary School, and Mom couldn't leave me at home alone. So I would always go to Marcin, aka Lola's house. This one day I was sick and had my blankets and baby pillow with me as I crawled on their itchy from the 70s couch and tried to get comfortable. Lola made me chocolate lugao, something she always made for her own children when they were sick. Chocolate lugao is champorado, or chocolate rice porridge. But growing up, that's what we called the dish. Even though I was sniffling and I couldn't breathe, my Lola's chocolate lugao always made me feel better. The steam from the bowl would cure me while I was eating it. I could breathe and smile again. She would watch me eat just to make sure that I was doing okay before cleaning up the dishes and pot she used to make the dish. Lola would ask if I wanted more, and I would eagerly shake my sipon-ridden face, yes, as she poured the last spoonfuls into my bowl. My small hands would grab my spoon and dive into my second serving, and I would, for that short while, forget I was sick. This memory taught me unconditional love, because Lola was unconditional love. And if I were to take one memory to heaven, it would have to be that one. It's 2016, and this is still what I refer to when I think of a favorite memory, because it involves my Lola and food. Food is the universal way of showing love to your family, be it at a family party where the same tita who is throwing shade and asking if you've gained weight is also asking, did you eat yet? Where even if you are full, you will nibble on just one more lumpia, one more cochinta, one more bite of barbecue stick. Recently, Filipino food has been touted as the quote-unquote next big thing, the new trend that foodies will clamor for. Will it be the new thing? Let's wait and see. One thing is for sure. I'm hungry. Who wants to go eat?
My secret, just do something that ain't nobody ever done before, but make it sound like something that's always been there forever.
Hello, and welcome to This Filipino American Life, a podcast that explores the nuanced experiences of Filipinos at iba pa. I am Joe Bernardo, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts.
Food appreciator Ryan Carpio.
Get bitches, get money, Elaine Delalis.
And a mic.
I love that the tagline that we have. It's not embedded in my brain yet.
Me either. We always have to look it up.
But it's a good thing. Yeah. I don't know why yet, but
that's why I have this document of it's called host script. So I know exactly what I have to talk about.
Yay!
Yeah. Behind the scenes for folks listening. This is how it works.
So today we will be discussing Filipino food.
Yeah, that's right, people. You've been waiting for it.
Yeah. Sarap,
I don't
sarap.
imagine this is going to be the last time we talk about food because we talk about it all the time.
We talk about it in like every episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Because you're the food appreciator.
I am. I say this all the time. I usually when I'm eating, I try to talk about food that we're not eating, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so much fun.
That's like the best dinner conversation.
Yeah. It's like you're eating like Filipino food, and you're like, dude, you know what? There's a sushi place. Yeah. And the next thing you
they
know,
have the best sushi.
Yeah, the best sushi. And like,
this is every conversation that we've had before.
I know. It's my favorite pastime.
We were eating Korean food, and then you were like, hey, there's this new like pastry shop.
Yeah.
For da, 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 da.
And it just brings everybody together.
I know.
Because we're all food appreciators, but Ryan, you are the food
I know.
appreciator.
I'm put it on.
And that's why we're all fit and have great health.
We don't have the diabetes
Oh boy.
or the high blood pressure.
So yeah, today we'll be discussing Filipino food, and later we're gonna talk to Sarahlynn Pablo from Filipino Kitchen.
Word.
But before we get to that, we have some shout outs first.
Yes.
Yeah. We want to give a shout out to
we got a new segment. Pew 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 pew.
Pew.
Wish I could do that. My horn, but we'll just do that. To our TFAL Pan of the Week.
What?
Or TFAL Pan of the episode, because we don't do this weekly.
No.
We're so gonna get calls.
I don't know how. They don't have our
Our
phone
phone
number.
lines are blowing up.
I mean, that was the joke.
We'll get tweets or Facebook messages. Our TFAL Pan, wow, that is hard to say.
TFAL Pan.
The TFAL Pan is a woman who emailed us from Texas. Her name, I love your name, by the way. Hermie. She is from
It's probably
Texas.
Hermie. I don't know.
No, but we like totally went Filipino.
Oh, okay.
With Hermie.
Yeah.
Hermie from Houston, Texas. She emailed TFAL and just showed her love in a really long email, and it brought the tear to my eye.
It was good.
It was really good. And we appreciate the love, Hermie. You're like so cool. And if we ever make it out to Houston, I hope to one day meet you.
Yes.
We hope to meet you. And if you come to LA, we hope to meet you too. That'd be rad. Yes, that's one fan. We have another pan. A local TFAL pan. This is so hard to say. TFAL pan of the episode. Mary from Pasadena, California.
Yep, Mary.
Local. You know all the things we talk about, or you can at least drive to them. So thank you again for your words of encouragement and emails.
Thank you for being a TFAL Pan.
Thank you for being a TFAL pan.
Yes.
TFAL pan.
Are you
TFAL pan.
non-stick or Teflon pan?
I want to be non-stick.
I want to be de sal or de leche.
Well played, Mike.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Apropos.
It would be at my my proposed restaurant called Pan Delicious.
Womp womp.
Say that one for the half-baked idea, sorry.
That's not the first time he's said pan delicious, by the
It's the
way.
first time I've heard it, and it's awesome.
I have heard this idea before and rolled my eyes. But thank you, pans. TFAL pans.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's so hard.
Okay, so Filipino food.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, as Filipino Americans, it's probably, one of the most common things we have, most common tie we have to our culture is our food. It's so closely tied to our identity, particularly in the United States. We're not, our cuisine is not normative in the United States. So it's actually a good topic to talk about and to learn more than just about the food, but about like ourselves and our community.
Totally.
Yeah. So I got a question for you all. When did you learn how to cook Filipino food?
Oh.
Never.
It's true. Mike doesn't know how to cook food. He can make spaghetti, though.
And steaks.
He can make spaghetti and steaks.
Beef steak?
No, just steaks.
Steak.
As in
I mean,
steak in the broiler steak.
What is it? That beef steak? Like, is it steak beef? No, but your spaghetti is like Filipino-esque.
Yeah, but I don't do the hot dogs or anything like that. I just
Do you put sugar?
But like a cup of
Yeah.
sugar about.
Brown sugar.
Yeah.
Dude, it's not really. It's not a cup because Mike layers it. So he'll put brown sugar and then cheese and then simmer and then more brown sugar and then cheese and then simmer.
So it's more than a cup.
It's like 3 cups.
couple handfuls, I guess.
Diabetes.
How about you all?
Let's see. When did I learn? I think college was probably the time where I'm like, I remember I think calling my dad like, hey, how long do you do this? I don't remember what I was cooking, but just asking my dad, because like in my family, my mom didn't really cook, but she learned later on. She makes the best beef steak, by the way.
Ooh.
She never remembers how to do it.
Thanks for the invite.
Oh yeah, that's right. But she never remembers, so she kind of like looks at the recipe book and does it all over again every time she does it, and it's amazing.
Because she follows the recipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She adds her own little twist to it. I'm like, Mom, how'd you do this? She goes, I don't know. But in college, you start to feel a little bit homesick, and you're like, what kind of foods can I make, or is it easy? So like nilaga and torta. Yeah.
Gross.
Torta. Oh, it's so good.
Gross.
Oh, it's just ground beef potatoes.
We don't like torta?
With nilaga, it's delicious.
No, I hate torta. I hate torta because I was force-fed it when I was a child. And my mom only made it with eggplant. Tortang eggplant.
That's right.
Tortang talong.
Tortang talong. And like...
Say it again.
Tortang talong.
Oh, good.
Okay, we don't have to make fun of you. I'm just kidding.
And it was just the eggplant and then the scrambled egg, right?
No beef?
My
or
mom would
pork?
never put beef or pork. See,
Sometimes you put some scrambled egg. I mean, with
my parents lied to
ground
me
beef.
with food, so I have odd food
lied to.
experiences.
Yeah.
So like tortang talong, I thought it was always just egg and eggplant, and I saw like a video where they made it with beef, and I'm like, Mom, we did not do this. No. And it's like with sinigang, I hate sinigang. I hated sinigang for a very, very long time. And I know it's like the national Filipino dish. Like everybody loves some sinigang. But I hated it because as a child, I ate it almost like every other week. And they only made it with either rock cod or red snapper.
Man, that sounds so good.
No. If you eat it all the time, it's not good. And so I didn't know you could make it with pork or beef or chicken. And in college, somebody...
Chicken?
Not chicken.
Not chicken.
Oh, not chicken.
Yeah.
Pork or beef.
Yeah.
So in college, somebody's like, I'm making sinigang. And I was like, ugh, gross. Fish soup. And they were like, say what? What do you mean fish soup? And I'm like, yeah, because sinigang, you made it with red snapper or rock cod. And they're like, no, we don't. And I'm like, huh? They're like, yeah, we make it with pork. And I was like, excuse me? And I called my dad, and my dad's like, yeah, of course, you could make it with anything you want to make it with. And I'm like, then why did we always make it with fish?
It's healthy.
And he was like, because your Lolo likes fish, and we always eat it with fish. And I was like, I hate you guys. You lied.
That's awesome. I can't believe you didn't know. Like, you could use it with
No.
You could use other meats.
No.
There's also this realization that you had where you could use packets.
Oh,
Or sinigang.
yeah.
I realized that. I'm like, oh, okay then. So.
I only know the Knorr packet. I don't know how to make it from scratch.
Yeah.
Do you know how to make it with like tamarind or guava?
I imagine that my grandma did before, but I don't know how to do that.
I remember my Lola had like random tamarind things all over. I was like, what's that?
Yeah, like
That's for sinigang.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that was until later in life.
Yeah, but like Mike, I don't cook as much Filipino food. I try to experiment with like cooking adobo without a certain kind of soy sauce and stuff. And my family was like, "What are you doing? Why are you using like this kind of soy sauce and not this?" I'm like, "Oh shoot, I didn't even know." Like I was trying to experiment with different kinds. And
I do, yeah. Like I don't have datu puti and for vinegar.
Oh.
I just have like apple cider vinegar or Heinz or whatever the 99-cent store has.
Oh wow!
And like soy sauce, it's whatever the 99-cent store has. So I don't have datu. But I don't have datu soy sauce or whatever other like kikoman, which is what my parents used to always have. And to me, I'm like, it just sounds adobo tastes fine.
Yeah.
I actually like it with apple cider vinegar. It's like a little sweeter.
I learned how to cook. In general, I learned how to cook in middle school because I was a latchkey kid and I was always hungry.
Yeah.
So like, what are you making?
When I was a kid, I would make like hamburgers or whatever, or like there would be like frozen beef patties.
Yeah. Kid cuisine.
And then and then high school, I learned how to cook adobo. And that's like kind of the only thing I learned how to make until college. My mom actually, she made like a 3-page recipe book for me, like all the kind of the staple Filipino foods how to make.
That's cute.
Yeah. My friend used to make fun of me because they would say, "Oh, is there like a recipe for spam?" And it says like, "Turn the key to open the lid," because it was very detailed, right? Yeah. And then cut up the spam and put it on the pan.
Well, was there?
No. But I did learn how to cook like kare-kare and nilaga.
Yeah, that's legit. I mean, I learned how to cook young too, but usually it's like hamburgers and
mine was like
cook rice.
Put chicken nuggets in microwave. Microwave for 2 minutes.
So, how do you cook your adobo? You talked a little bit about it, Lane, but how do you cook it, right?
Well, so that's why I got scolded because I used not datu puti. I used not like what is it, like silver swan or whatever.
See, that's my combo. Silver Swan and Datu Puti.
What's silver swan?
Oh, there's
The soy
also
soy sauce. Yeah.
So there's also like marca piña, right? The soy sauce. So I use Kikkoman,
Yeah, that's
and
what I know.
I use a Kikkoman vinegar also.
And they could tell the difference?
It's different.
There's differences like patis too. Like I don't use Rufina, which is the most popular one.
I use that one.
I use the Vietnamese one. And
Traitor. No, I'm just kidding.
I started using it after my my mother-in-law told me, "Oh, don't get Rufina, get the Vietnamese one, the one with the crab on the label."
Why would she tell you to get that one though?
Because it's not as salty.
Yeah.
And you could be
She's
more.
just concerned with your high blood.
Oh no,
It's a different taste.
it's a different taste, and it's a little sweeter, a little bit, yeah. But yeah, sorry. So adobo.
Yeah, and then you know how do you put like a bay leaf on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those things I learned later. I'm like, man, there's something missing, and then my mom or my sister would be like, they're like, give me a bay leaf. I'm like, no, man, I don't know. It's like, oh, you have to put that.
It's in the recipe.
No, but I don't. That's why I'm like,
In
just
what cookbook?
I'm like just
In the internet cookbook.
Well, this is pre-internet, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So you learn.
Yeah.
You learn.
Let's Cook with Nora. That's what you need to get. That's the cookbook my dad gave my mom when they were dating because my mom is a terrible cook. And so I actually wanted to inherit my mom's cookbook because I was looking for dishes to make. One dish is adobong pusit. Like I love adobong pusit. I grew up eating it.
Wow,
And
I didn't grow up at all with that.
Oh, I love it. And I wanted to show Mike like how you eat squid that doesn't look like calamari and like how you have to debone it, which is me and my cousins used to call it take out the plastic because the spine of a squid looks like plastic. And so my mom sent me the recipe, like she typed it out once when I was in college, but that's in Let's Cook with Nora. It's one of like the go-tos she would always use.
I gotta try it.
Yeah.
But I noticed a lot of Visayans eat like tons of seafood.
Because the ocean
by
is
the ocean,
plentiful.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
There was a summer in college where both of my roommates were gone. I think. I was
So
like,
you
what-
walked around the house
Well,
with
no.
no pants.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh boy. But I'm like, usually my roommates, we would kind of cook for each other. But Sean would cook, but I'm like, man, I have to cook and make food because I had work and I had summer school and all that stuff, and that's where I started experimenting. I made like torta, I made like eggplant stuff.
See, you liked cooking for yourself. Look, Mike, get some tips. Cook for yourself.
I can cook. I mean, I don't want
Steak
it.
and spaghetti.
Steak and spaghetti. Mike also can make funfetti cakes and pineapple upside down.
Yeah,
Oh.
just get the box from the grocery store and add the egg.
But
I actually like cooking for others.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know, maybe some kind of instinct I inherited from my
From your
parents
Lola?
or something. Or Lola, yeah.
It's hard cooking for yourself.
Yeah,
because like I'm by myself. I'd never know how to estimate how much to
Yeah,
cook.
because then you cook too much.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with it?
Yeah.
And Mike doesn't eat leftovers, so it's the worst.
Yeah, I'm not into leftovers.
That is so weird.
Right.
So wasteful, Mike.
My
Totally. And then when
SMH.
if we don't have dinner together, Mike has what he calls lonely boy meals.
Yes.
Explain what lonely boy meals
So
are.
Lonely
Mike.
Boy meals are usually, something off the value menu at Wendy's on my way to like going to Amoeba Records so I could spend an hour or two somewhere not being by myself. So, and I usually eat it in the car on the way to the store. So
She blew up your spot, Mike.
that is the Lonely Boy meal.
But I love that it's called lonely boy meal.
So, what's your percentage of soy sauce to vinegar?
Oh my gosh. I usually
I try 1 to 1.
but I estimate I try not to use too much soy sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be too salty.
I do either 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. But lately, vinegar. Sorry, more vinegar.
Okay.
Lately, I've been doing no vinegar or no soy sauce.
What is that?
So,
how is that a
so how do
double?
you
So the original adobo, like I didn't say original, but like they didn't use soy sauce. And
It's
It
just
didn't
a
have
reduced.
soy.
yeah, and then because soy was brought in by Chinese traders
Yeah.
and stuff. So I use salt and then mostly vinegar.
So does the vinegar tenderize the meat?
Yeah,
Wait, what do you mean original adobo? Like
I
from
say
the
original, but like
the Spanish or something? Or
No.
before the Spanish?
no pre.
You're like a bahag while you're cooking it or something? I mean, like how originally talking about?
Well, adobo was actually
You play a gong.
well,
Done.
adobo is actually it's not necessarily a Spanish dish. It was actually a Filipino dish, but the Spaniards called it adobo because it was kind of marinated the same way.
So
but
like
it's an indigenous technique
to the Philippines?
Yeah.
Because like you see adobo spice in like Mexican culture too, or they have a version of adobo.
They probably have a different version, but I know
It
at
tastes
least
different. It's a
from the
different
books
spice.
I read, they say that cooking stuff in vinegar is adobo, and it was pre-Hispanic.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. I learned something today.
Yeah. So So what Filipino food did you hate before
Well,
when you were kids? But
I have just said sinigang.
sinigang.
But you like it now?
I like it
but
now.
like it now.
Sinigang. I still hate torta.
Tortang talong.
Don't even try to give me ampalaya. I'll shove it back into your face.
I like that now.
You're gross. You're disgusting.
My sister just made it, and she goes, "I took all the bitterness out."
How do you take the bitterness
I don't
out
know,
of bitter
but
melon?
Salt. You just use a lot of salt.
That makes it worse. The whole point of ampalaya is supposed to be like it reduces your blood sugar.
Yeah, I know.
But then you can put all the salt on it.
Well, I don't use it, but
Oh.
yeah, in general, if you want to get rid of the bitterness, you put salt.
Yeah.
My mom used to
Cook
soak
it for a
it
while.
in rice vinegar. So she would like cut it up and then basically it's like pickling it because isn't it? And she just it would be like an achara with her dish. That or she would always scramble it like in eggs. The dish would be pink salmon, eggs, scrambled eggs, and ampalaya. And you could for sure
Sounds good.
Yeah.
hated that
Well,
thing.
ampalaya is hard, right? It's hard to. It's
Yeah,
definitely.
so the
an acquired
egg and
taste.
this pink salmon, like they mask the disgustingness, and then my plate would always be like a little pile of ampalaya, and then everything else is gone.
It's like shoved to the side.
yeah, like I hate it.
Mine is is mungo.
Oh, I love mungo then. I love it now.
Because I don't like the texture of beans. I don't like red beans.
Like the powdery texture.
Yeah, like-
Yeah.
You know, I just don't like it. So I have this thing about appreciating food more when I know how long it takes or how much
Takes
work
mungo
it-
forever.
So that's why I'm like, even with beans, right? I made beans for the first time like maybe 5-6 years ago or something. Never made beans before. Like, like for a Mexican dish or something like that. I've never done beans before. And I finally did it, and it took forever, but it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I made it. I better appreciate it.
Yeah.
But now I have appreciation for beans. Mungo, on the other hand, like I just never liked the taste and texture. And then one day, Joe Bernardo made mungo. He's like, "Hey, do you want mungo for lunch?" I'm like, I was so hungry. This is when we worked together. It was delicious.
Delicious.
It was delicious.
Did you put
So-
pork in it?
Of course.
Yeah. So now
Pork
I'm like,
is a spice in Filipino food.
I can't remember if my parents put pork in their mungo.
Was it also fish?
No, it wasn't fish.
Fish mongo?
For sure,
Fish
not
sinigang?
fish. It was
Fish
shrimp.
halo halo?
It's shrimp. No,
adobong fish.
gross. It was like the tiny shrimps. My mom would always put that in,
Oh,
in
yeah,
the mungo.
yeah.
Like the dehydrated ones?
Yeah. There probably was pork in it because otherwise, like, how would it be fatty? Like,
Yeah. But see, it's so much better if it's like fresh shrimp
Yeah.
or something. you
Yeah.
know, or like fresh pork or just like everything fresh. You could totally taste the difference. than,
Yeah.
like, the stuff
Fresh
kinda
pork.
I think that's why I didn't like mungo, because I think they had like a lot of the dried shrimp and
Yeah.
almost no pork.
Yeah.
So it just tasted like old shrimp from like,
I
the market 2 years ago or something.
I hate when you go to the point and then they give you mungo and there's nothing in it and it's just mungo and like onions and I'm like, oh, this sucks. My mom would call it the commercial mungo because she's like, there's no ulam in there. I'm like, yeah, mom,
Yeah.
you totally gypped me with this.
And they just use like the bad cuts of meat.
Yeah, I
and
was
mostly
like,
bones.
She's just like, "Ugh, what a waste. I'm like, yeah, mom.
Tanginang bahay ko po.
This Filipino American Life brought to you by.
No, The song.
The song, not the restaurant.
Bahay Kubo.
I find it so odd that song is all about vegetables, but it's so absent in Filipino diets
Right,
now, except for
right.
Ilocanos.
It's true.
So I hated mungo, I hated kare kare and ampalaya when I was a kid, but now I love that
Yeah.
stuff now.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I think
You're older.
yeah. In general, you're older. Your taste buds change. You know.
Yeah.
You begin to appreciate more bitter things, like coffee, right?
Because your
Coffee-
soul is bitter now.
You're not innocent anymore.
Your innocence has been crushed.
All the sweet stuff gone.
Yeah. So there's actually a food that I don't like now, and I keep on trying it just to see if my taste buds have changed.
What is it?
It's called pinapaitan.
What is that?
So it's Ilocano. So I didn't get introduced to pinapaitan until I started dating Curly,
The love of your life.
love of my life. And you know, Ilocanos, they're big on goat.
Ugh. I'm sorry.
It's pinapaitan is basically like
I know what it is.
goat innards and pieces of goat
Gross.
cooked in goat bile.
It's cooked.
Oh my god, I've had that by accident once.
Yeah, at your family party they had it.
Did?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's so
It's
bitter.
so gross.
And you know, the first time I tried it, I go, "Oh, what is this?" And then I started dating her 13 years ago now. So yeah, every time I go back to Stockton, where she's from,
And they make it?
They try to make it. I always want to try it to see okay, has my taste buds changed? But no.
Yeah, have your taste buds have been-
Appreciated bile.
Yeah, is it bile ready? Get ready for some bile.
There's actually a video on YouTube showing how to cook it. So it shows them killing, skinning, preparing the goat, and then at the very end it shows what papaitan is. And what they do is they rip out the stomach part and get all the grass that it's eaten, and then squeeze it into a bowl. So that's how they collect the bile.
So if you're listening and you expected the food episode to talk about goat bile, this is the episode for you.
I'm sorry if you're on lunch right now and listening to this. But if you like that dish that Joe said that I don't know the name of, good for you.
Thumb up.
So that goes to my next question. What food have you didn't know or you didn't grow up with and you learned later in life?
Like Filipino food?
Like Filipino.
Yeah, Filipino food.
Didn't know. Well, I don't know if I've told this story before. I think I told it on a different show, but I didn't know that you could eat the inside of a crab.
Oh, like the... What?
Okay.
Oh, you mean
The
like
eggs.
the shell part?
yeah.
Like the... Oh, yeah.
The eggs.
So as a child,
Taba.
this goes to more of my parents lying to me.
Uh-huh.
As a child, my mom used to tell me the crabs you could only eat the legs, like the claws and the legs and the chest part, but the inside with the taba, like the orange and green stuff. My mom used to say, "You can't eat that; it's not edible."
You know why? She probably kept it
No,
herself.
she did, she did. Because I grew up and I only ate claws in the chest, and then I was with my cousins and we're eating crabs, and I saw them begin to scoop it on rice, and I'm like, "What are you doing? You can't eat that. That's not edible." And my cousin looked at me like, "What are you talking about? Yeah, you can. It's the best part." I'm like, "It's the best part?" And then I tried it, and it was, and I ran to my mom and I was like, "Mom, you can eat this. It's the best part." And I was like, "Mom, did you lie to me?" And she's just like, "Because I wanted to eat yours."
Yeah. For sure.
I was like,
I would have lied to you too. You're so oblivious, nerd girl.
like my mom, straight up, until I was 12 years old, 11, 12 years old, always ate that part of the crab.
Ah, dude, that's the best part.
I know.
I remember going to Santa Barbara and going to the pier, and then I forgot the name of the crab shack, but they would see him open it and then get rid of all the fat and the eggs.
No.
What's wrong with you? They just wash it off.
No. It's a waste.
Such a waste.
Nope.
See, that's not as bad as at the Oxnard Fisherman's Wharf where they crack the crabs.
Oh, I don't see how that's an issue.
So my cousin, because Vince and my aunt and uncle went to the Oxnard wharf, and they're asking where to get crabs. So we told them. Mike told them, and my aunt flipped out because they pre-cracked the crab in half. And my aunt was like, "Why are they doing that? Why are they doing that?" And I was like, "I don't know why they're doing that. Why are they doing that?" And Mike was like, "What's the problem? It's so you can eat it faster." And then my aunt's reaction was the exact same reaction I had, which was, "How do you know you're getting all the crabs that you bought?" Because they crack it for you. They
What, they're going to steal crab meat out of it from you?
You never know. You never know. Crab's expensive.
How about you, Ray?
Mine is sisig.
Yeah. Because that's pretty new, right?
That's what I was thinking too.
I didn't know it was new.
Well,
70s.
Relative. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was in Manila when I ate it. And, because, we eat a lot of pork, of course, but we've eaten lechon kawali and stuff. And then we were out. This was in 2004. I forget where we were, but we were eating and someone ordered sisig. And it came in like a sizzling platter and it has like that crunchy. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, because I knew what it was. I knew it was like
You knew it was pork.
stuffed, right? And I was just like, magic. I was like, I'm gonna get up and do a little bit of a clap, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So is sisig here in America made with the face?
Some places do with the face, and some people just use like small lechon kawali.
Because I feel like I've only had it like lechon kawali. I don't think it's been the face.
Yeah. There's a place that I go to, like a market. It's called Arco.
Do they use the face?
You can order both.
Oh.
Yeah.
They make the best sisig.
Yeah. Well, the lechon kawali side.
Oh, okay. Shout out to Arco. I love your sisig. Sponsored by...
Please send us some sisig.
Sponsor us by sending us some sisig.
We'll gladly eat it. We'll make a video of us eating it.
We'll work for sisig.
So a lot of the food that I learned later in life is, like non-Tagalog food.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all Ilocano stuff, like dinardaraan, which is like a more drier version of dinuguan.
Okay.
I actually prefer that better than dinuguan. Igado.
What's
that?
It's like beef with red peppers and tomatoes kind of dish.
Oh, I've had that.
Yeah. They use liver, but it's kind of cool that my mother-in-law takes off the liver when she cooks it.
Because
she knows I don't like it.
What's it called again?
Igado.
I feel like we've had that beef.
It's like
and red
menudo?
peppers. It sounds like it, right? Yeah. With the red peppers.
Yeah. And then there's also chicken inasal. Have you heard that? Mm-hmm. It's like the red, like grilled chicken. Mm-hmm. It's a native to I think Bacolod, right? And sisig was on my list. And this actual dish it's Filipino, but it's actually Hawaiian, but it has roots in the Philippines. It's called
Spam musubi.
It's called sari sari.
Oh, what is
so it's like
the store.
So it's actually a better version of pinakbet.
Oh.
It has like the better vegetables like upo, and it's not cooked in bagoong. They use patis instead.
Oh,
it's a little bit more soupy too.
Interesting.
But it's only in Hawaii. It's interesting.
So is it like Ilocano then? If it's in Hawaii,
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess there's something I learned later in life that I don't think a lot of Filipinos know it. It's called torta, but it's not a savory dish. It's a dessert.
Huh.
It's a Visayan dessert. It's like a cake. So when I hear torta, I think of this cake. So it's cakey. It's not babinka. If you look up Bisaya and torta, it's like caramelized sugar on top.
Yeah.
It's delicious. One of my mom's cousins, my tita, I think it's my tita Gilda or my tita Hermie, like she would make it, and like I was like, what is this magic that I'm eating? And my dad's like, oh, it's torta, it's Bisaya dish. But most of the bakeries, they don't make it because like I guess the bakeries are Tagalog or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're just gonna make like pan de sal, pan de leche, pan de ube, but not this torta. I think it's time intensive also.
Oh, I see.
But that's one dish that I learned. I think I learned about it when I was like in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Can we just eat this all the time?
Also, there's a Filipino version of tamale.
What?
Yeah, it's from Pampanga.
So is it loud?
And
Shout out to all the folks from Pampanga.
Who are loud?
the Valerios in North Hills, they sell it there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what it's made of.
It's made of rice masa.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What is
It's
rice
good.
masa?
So it's
As
like
opposed to corn.
corn masa.
oh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's made out of rice flour, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. There's actually a good for folks out there. There's a good, I guess, web series, TV show. It's called. It's on YouTube. It's called Market to Master.
Ooh.
It's actually hosted by this South African chef who moved to the Philippines, and he goes all over the Philippines, like all these different regions.
Ooh, we should link it when we post this up.
And explores like all these different Filipino
That's
foods
cool.
from all over the
That
Philippines.
sounds cool.
It's
I
cool,
wanna
and
watch
you
it.
can just discover all these different things.
And it's so different, right? Like I unfortunately, you probably know more about like different regions and regional kind of cooking. Like my dad speaks that way, right? Like when you say, oh, it's drier cooked here in these areas, I don't think of stuff like that because I just only knew the city. So it's kind of nice to know how many different versions of kinds of foods that we have.
Yeah.
And usually it's what's available to you, right?
Yeah.
So,
That makes
depending
sense.
on what kind of vegetables are available to you, what kind of meats are available. So your caldereta is probably made out of goat, but in some places you probably make it out of beef, something like that. So.
Sorry, not a fan of goat.
Yeah, like some places in the Philippines, they use coconut milk in their adobo.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah. I tried it one time. It's good.
Yeah.
My mom made it sometimes.
Does it make it creamier? Or
Not necessarily, but it definitely has a different
Different
taste.
taste.
And also there's just like different names of things that we have, right? Like, for there's probably a name for a dryer dinuguan, but there's a name for it in whatever you said, Joe. Like Ilocano, you said? Or
Yeah.
Dinardaraan.
as long as we can agree that adobo should not have potatoes in it. Because I'm sorry, people.
I think my dad would make it with potatoes
Oh,
sometimes.
that's not right. It's not right.
They put onions.
Adobo, garlic.
No,
Yeah,
garlic.
some people put onions, and
It's not right.
It's almost like bistek if it has onions in it.
they use onions and ginger. Some people. And
Ugh.
that's how my mother-in-law cooks it.
It's not right.
That is not right.
It's not right.
It's different,
It's different. It's not right.
but it's not
different.
right.
I was like, Joe didn't want to get in trouble. He's gonna get in trouble.
All right. You know what we should do for our show for TFAL is do a mukbang.
What's a mukbang?
What's a
Yeah,
mukbang?
mukbang was basically it started in Korea, and people eat in front of a webcam.
I'm so down.
And it's actually
Did you
now
say
you can see
eat?
it all over YouTube now, and people just eat and kind of talk about the food, and you could just hear the crunches and hear like people eating, and it just makes you so
Okay.
hungry when you eat it.
If we get a sponsor, if Arco Seafood wants to send us some sisig, we'll watch it and watch us eat it. I'm so down.
It's so cool.
Or if TFL fans want us to eat certain foods,
Well, there
I'm so down.
there are some people that when you watch them eat, you're like, man, I want to eat. Like nakakagana or pampagana. Like there's some folks that when they eat food, like one of them is for the reference, like Anthony Bourdain. When he eats, I was like, oh, dude, I want to eat.
Yeah.
The other one is Dolphy. Whenever he eats on camera, like in a like there's
In a
some-
movie?
like in a TV. There's some TV shows in which like part of it is like eating, and he's eating just with his hands, and you're just watching him, and you're like, that guy knows what's up. I want to eat, but that's Dolphy. Anyway, I digress.
All right.
I'm so hungry.
Thank you again for introing our interview with Filipino Kitchen, which will be coming up soon.
Yay.
And right now we're going to take a break.
Take a break.
Hey, we're back.
And we're back. Hey. Welcome back to This Filipino American Life. Again, this is Joe. I'm with Ryan, Elaine, producer Mike. And today we have a guest.
Yay.
Her name is Sarahlynn Pablo. She's with Filipino Kitchen.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Say hello, Sarahlynn.
Hey, everybody. Hi. Thanks
Hey.
for having me on.
This is actually the first time we're recording remotely, or not remotely, but we're interviewing someone remotely.
It's so neat.
I know.
Wait, where's Sarahlynn? Where
She's
are
in
you?
Chicago.
What? It sounds like you're right next to us. Technology. Thanks, producer Mike.
And you were, so you're from Chicago, and all I have to say before we start is congrats on the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series.
Did they win?
Yeah.
I stopped paying attention.
They beat our
Just kidding.
They beat our Dodgers,
Dodgers.
but it's well deserved.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, there's a Filipino American on our team,
Yes,
too.
Addison
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
So that was actually
Addison
pretty cool.
Russell.
That made it a lot better for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Sarahlynn, you are usually joined by your partner Natalia, right? But she is in the Philippines, and unfortunately, she can't make this interview. But Sarahlynn will kind of represent the both of you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. She sends her regrets, but she is doing very good work for Filipino Kitchen and kind of learning about Filipino cuisine and what's happening there directly from the source. So,
Yeah.
Cool.
And another thing is, Sarahlynn, you just got profiled on the Chicago Reader. So congratulations on
Ooh.
that. That was actually a pretty
Thank
cool
you.
spread.
What's the Chicago
that was-
Reader?
the Chicago Reader is a free alternative weekly here in the city. It's actually been running for 45 years. Every year they run a people issue. It's basically kind of like 19 Chicagoans you should know, but you probably don't. My friend Robin Amer, she's a deputy editor there. And she, on her Facebook status, we used to work together in public radio before, and she posted on her Facebook status, like, what awesome Chicagoans do you know that you want us to profile in our people issue? So I was actually like looking through her comments to see who had been suggested. And I was like, oh, that person seems cool and blah, blah. And then like an hour later, she sent me a comment because I'd upvoted a couple of people, including Michi Trota, another Pinay who is also featured in the same issue. She's a Hugo Award winner, and she's in the
Wow.
fiction world. Anyway, so she sent me a direct message and was like, no, I think you should be on this. So anyway, it was a wonderful honor.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome.
That's so dope.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you are with Filipino Kitchen. Can you explain what Filipino Kitchen is?
Yeah, so Filipino Kitchen is a food, media, and events group, and our mission is to promote Filipino culture through our food. Specifically, it's for Filipino Americans and Filipinos. So we feel like, similar to your podcast, that we wanted someone to speak for us and by us about our food. So that's kind of us in a nutshell.
Nice. So what kind of projects does Filipino Kitchen work on?
Yeah, so we do this through things like our annual Cultura Festival, which is at the beginning of October to start Filipino American History Month. And it's a modern food, Filipino American food and arts festival here in the city. We were in our second year last October, and that was really wonderful. We also do events like pop-up dinners. So we collaborate with chefs all over the diaspora. So we've been lucky enough to do pop-up dinners in California, in Boston, New York, here in Chicago. Am I missing any? And yeah, so it's a wonderful thing to be able to work with chefs who either maybe they don't have their own restaurants, or maybe they do are executive chefs of restaurants, but the menu isn't Filipino, or they don't have that latitude to be able to add Filipino flavors or ingredients or dishes to their menus. So it gives them a chance to be able to express that part of themselves. Or they might be in the back of house, like as a line cook or a sous chef, and this is their chance to kind of get more known on a broader stage. So so we do those things. We also, one major component of ours is to speak on college campuses, like at Filipino American and Asian American conferences. A couple weeks ago, we spoke at FACT, which is at the University of Illinois, and it's
nice.
Filipino Americans
Cool.
coming together. It's an annual conference.
Do you know about
Yeah, fact. Yeah.
Because, I think a lot of us who are around our 20s or 30s had come up and, had these kind of awakening about our identity and built community in a really important way at these conferences. And for me, that was 16 years ago. But I always love to give back and always love to spread the word about Filipino cuisine and, how it's tied to a lot of other important issues.
Mm-hmm. What's the reaction at those conferences?
It's really great, actually. So they at FACT, they were really, we spoke about collaboration, mm-hmm. which is a value of ours at Filipino Kitchen. And, we got to see, number one, how advanced the students were in their thinking about organizing and getting things accomplished on their respective campuses. But also they were brought a curiosity about it, like, oh, well, I never really thought about working with other organizations to pool our financial and other resources to bring maybe somebody a more well-known Filipino American to our campus to bring some knowledge, because some of these things are expensive, obviously, mm-hmm. like hotels and airfare, et cetera. Or sometimes they don't even know who those experts are or, cultural practitioners are to mm-hmm. be able to bring them in and educate themselves. Especially at schools where there may not be a strong presence of ethnic studies, Asian American studies, mm-hmm. or mm-hmm. Filipino American studies. So yeah, it's been a really wonderful experience to be able to work with college students.
Nice. So when you do your pop-ups, you're basically working with chefs, and then you do kind of the event planning and like the promotions for the pop-up. Like, how exactly does it work with the chef?
Yeah, so we'll either approach someone or they'll approach us, and we'll have an idea for a venue, possibly a theme, and then we'll look at the schedule. Our big thing is that we want to educate people through food. So whether it's through the choice of theme, or through the way we do the menu, the music that we choose to play, the graphics that we use. Mm-hmm. These are all ways that we try to kind of bring in elements of culture and history to the dining experience. So, for example, we did a collaborative pop-up with Pablo, who is another podcaster, actually, too, out of New York City. And so his theme was about decolonizing your palate. And it was around the question, if Spain never colonized the Philippines, what would Filipino cuisine look like?
Oh, that's cool.
So,
what was it then?
A lot of vinegar.
Yeah.
a lot of
vinegar.
Souring agents.
Yeah.
A lot of vegetables. And there were certain things that couldn't be used, like tomatoes. Tomatoes couldn't be used because that was brought through by the galleon trade. So things like that, just ways that it kind of plays out. And before each course, if we have the latitude, it's always great for the chefs to be able to directly engage with the diners and to be able to either tell their personal stories, why certain choices were made, as well as just kind of tell diners about the dishes. Because not all of the time the diners are familiar with Filipino ingredients, or if they are Filipino, they've never seen ingredients or Filipino food presented in certain ways sometimes. So we really like to make the experience personal because it's a lot of hard work just to put together a restaurant for one night.
Yeah.
So we like to make the effort very well worth it.
Nice.
What got you started? This is the concept itself is brilliant. First of all, I think
Thank you.
Especially the education piece of it. But what got you started doing this? Are you a chef or anything like that, or a food appreciator like I am?
Food appreciator?
Yes,
Really?
Food appreciator. It's Ryan. My card says Ryan
Carpio, food appreciator.
Food appreciator. Food eater.
That's awesome.
But yeah, what got you started? Or how did this start?
It's a little bit of a long story, but in short, I had written a piece about. This was long before I ever considered myself a writer, actually. I blogged a piece about lugao. So at that time in my life, I was trying to be a travel writer. And when I wasn't traveling, I was writing about the food that I was cooking at home, which was often Filipino food. And of course, it being Chicago and being winter, I had to write about lugao. So I blogged about that recipe. I asked my mom what she did to make hers. I looked at other blogged recipes on lugao online. And then, I just put it out there just to be in the practice of writing and to, get content out there. And also just to document the recipes of my mom for myself, frankly. And the reactions that I got were really surprising and very deeply emotional. One that always stands out to me is a woman wrote in and said, thank you so much for posting this. I'm paraphrasing. And, my siblings and I have been looking for a lugao recipe that used cooked rice because unlike yourself, our mom isn't just a phone call away, which is a phrase that I'd used in the piece. So I was just like, wow, that hit me right in the feels.
Wow.
And for me too, like that dish, like lugao, and I'll talk about it in the intro, or the intro will have already played.
We'll
But like
later,
We'll edit that.
you can leave it in; it's fine. People know that we can record out of order. It's cool. But like my reference about food is with my Lola, and how like when I was 6, she would make chocolate lugao for me, and it's called champorado everywhere, but I didn't know it was called champorado until I was an adult.
Chocolate lugao.
Because my Lola called it chocolate lugao. And so I would actually ask my dad, like, can you make chocolate lugao? And my dad knows, like, that's what I want. And so I'd go to stores and be like, what's chocolate? Where is it on the menu? And it's not there. But then there's this thing called champorado. And I'm like, that looks like it. I guess it's it. And then I realized, like, oh, it's the same thing. My grandma was just like, yeah, champorado is Spanish and that's not us. So we'll just use chocolate lugao.
Yeah, because chocolate is indigenous, right?
Sure, totally. Especially when it comes in little wafers.
Well, Joe and I were actually talking about lugao earlier, just remembering like what comfort food was for me, and how this lady, Aling Minda, if you're ever listening, you're in the Philippines, but this was in the 80s. This lady who would sell lugao, tokwa baboy, and it was just a counter. It was delicious. I mean, it was just like, it was what we
And you can't find it here.
No,
Yeah.
you can't find it here. So you have to kind of make it. So my dad actually makes his, and it's good. It's really
Is just as good, or is it?
I mean, it's different.
Yeah.
Aling Minda's was, off the chain. But my dad's, it's just
I'm the same way.
different.
Like when I find those, like you can find champorado where you just add water, like Top Ramen style. They sell it now.
Yeah.
Like Pamana sells it, and I'm always excited. Like, oh shoot, it's like Top Ramen, and I ate it, and I'm like, it's not the same.
No.
Like it does. Like
All the
I don't
instant
know.
stuff does not never the same.
Right? It's not a chocolate tab that like disintegrated into the rice, and I don't know if she put like milk in it or what, but like it always was creamy and it was different. But it's always like it's good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Hold you over.
Yeah.
So you had great reaction to your lugao, right? The lugao article.
Yeah, it was just really emotional. And then I was putting it together that, at that moment in time, which was 2013, 2012, I'd seen like Anthony Bourdain or Andrew Zimmern saying like, Filipino food was going to be the next big thing. But then I never, at least here in Chicago, like I didn't really notice us taking ownership of our own culinary stories or gastronomic stories on a regular basis. It was just kind of like crumbs from the table, like it's going to be the next big thing, but then you wouldn't hear it about anything about it until like
That's
6 months
the same
later.
thing in LA.
Yeah.
So-
And it's always like, white folks telling us what's good, right?
Yeah. Like Jonathan Gold.
Precisely.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that.
Respect to Jonathan Gold.
We'll get to those politics later.
You're right.
Yeah. So how did it start then? After you wrote this article.
So that was kind of like the push. And then basically I felt like because of these reactions and because of the media underrepresentation, I'll say, it needed its own web presence space. And at first I thought like I was just going to create content around Filipino food. And then I started to think about the brand Filipino Kitchen as a bigger entity. And I knew that it could grow into a lot more. And just owing to my experience from trying to become a travel writer and being entrepreneurial, I thought to myself, I really need a partner. Like this is like a lot of complicated work, and having someone else to bounce ideas off of, for one, and to help do the work, obviously. And I can't do everything. So at that same time, I guess that was 2014, like a little bit later on, that was around the time when Typhoon Haiyan had hit the Philippines.
Wow.
And so Natalia and I actually, this is where she comes into the story. We'd been acquaintances for about a decade, but we never really had the opportunity to develop our relationship until about 2014. And then the tragedy of the typhoon happened. We had in Chicago a lot of organization efforts for relief, which we were both part of. And it was not as organized as we would have liked it, the community response. And we know that that's owing to local politics and groups and a bunch of other things that are very particular to Chicago.
Sounds very familiar to LA too.
Yeah. And, and it's a common thing among, I think, a lot of ethnic groups, ethnic immigrant groups in the States. And so we got to talking about why that was, because a lot of people were asking us, our non-Filipino friends, like, how can we help? How can we help the effort? Just the devastation. And obviously you guys remember it was on the news like 24/7. And I, at that point, Natalia and I were talking about it, and like, we didn't want to tell people how to help the Philippines and the relief effort, because it's giving can be a very personal choice. Like sometimes people don't want to give to a religious organization because of the other things that they stand for. Sometimes people don't want to give to an international aid organization. So we wrote this article together, and the experience of writing this article together called I Won't Tell You How to Help Haiyan basically informed the experience of like, this is Natalia's a really wonderful person to be able to bounce ideas off of. It was a great editorial experience. Not only that, Natalia has wonderful photography skills. She's a great cook in her own right. And she has a lot of hospitality and food experience as well. So we just get along great.
Nice.
So she just seemed like a natural person. She was like, oh, wait, yeah, I can help you with whatever you want. And I was like, no, I need a business partner. She was like, oh, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. So that's kind of how our Genesis story in a nutshell, which wasn't really very short. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It all comes from somewhere, right?
Exactly.
So, we talked a little bit about, cooking Filipino food and eating Filipino food in our, before we started interviewing you. What are your memories of Filipino food?
They have to do with the holidays oftentimes. My ninang would come up from Indianapolis, and she'd make fresh lumpia, fried lumpia, pancit. And, we'd have like the normal Thanksgiving things or the normal Christmas things on the table too, but we just have all these other awesome dishes. So those are kind of my first memories. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the Philippines most summers of my life growing up, like in grade school through high school. And, I remember, because we'd always go during rainy season since it was summer break here. And I just always remember for merienda going with my older cousin, walking in the rain to get some bottles of Coke for the house and fresh pandesal. So street food, like back home. So those are kind of like my first memories of like Filipino food that I just love.
Oh my God.
What about for you guys?
I'm hungry right now.
I'm getting hungry. I'm getting so hungry. Well, it's not my favorite, but it's it's a food memory. My grandaunt lived with us for a little bit, and she was a home economics professor in the Philippines. So she was like the best cook imaginable. She's like my standard torchbearer. Because like, unlike a lot of people, my mom, sorry mom, you are not a good cook. Like, my mom is not a good cook. In fact, my dad gave her a copy of Let's Cook with Nora, and like the inscription was, "Good luck, happy cooking." And it's because like she had tried to make my dad a dish and it was like it failed. So my dad was like, stick to the recipes. So when my Lola came and lived with us, she taught my mom how to make lumpia sariwa, the fresh lumpia. And so like it's a very time intense process to like cut all the vegetables and to like julienne everything. And also she bought my mom a specific pan to make the crepes. So like it wasn't like you can't buy the lumpia sariwa wrapper. You have to make it fresh. So she taught my Lola taught my mom how to do it, like to make the batter, to put it on this pan and had to make it super thin. And so the whole like memory of the cutting and then the making the wrapper, then putting it together, and like the sauce too is fresh. I don't even remember what was in it. I was like, this is the best. And like every time I eat lumpia sariwa anywhere else, like if I get it from Max's Chicken, I'm like, this is not good. Like this is commercial.
Yeah.
But that to me, like, you know, food. I'm so hungry right now.
Yeah, we should have gotten some takeout.
I know, totally.
I'm like, I have cookies and like Guinness bread. That's not the same.
I think my one of my best memories is it's very simple. It's basically just like a homemade pandesal and then butter.
Oh.
And then I remember when I was a kid just eating it with my Lola and then dipping it in coffee.
Yeah.
And I just remember, wow, I'm drinking coffee. I'm so young.
I did that too.
Yeah. And then obviously, you know, my Lola was the greatest cook that I totally grew up with, and my mom wasn't a good cook either.
Word.
But
why we're twins.
Yeah. but yeah, I think just having homemade pandesal was just so simple.
I don't think I've ever had homemade pandesal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Same.
Like I've only bought it from Valerio.
It's actually supposedly it's really easy to make. I've never tried it. No. But
really, you should try it.
I know I should try it, but I've never baked before.
I don't bake. Mine's a little bit split. So, as a kid growing up in Quezon City in the Philippines, you know, I remember being really young and going with my grandma to the market or the palenque. Every day she would go. We would take the tricycle to the market, and she would get. Because she was the cook in our house. My mom also didn't cook.
Yes. We all have moms who are not good cooks.
Her mom, my grandma, the neighborhood called her mama. So she would be the one to like, we would have like today is like fried chicken night or today is going to be this. And so I remember the market because I didn't like going to the market all the time with her because it was like, oh, there's stuff being slaughtered and stuff like that, right? In the markets. So,
Wait, what?
But the food, like it's like a butcher shop and it's like all in like a open market.
Never been to the Philippines.
That's right.
Don't know. Hey, Philippines, send me there.
Send Elaine over there. But the food that she made was just amazing, and it is like what Joe said. It's like really, really simple. You know, everything from like, you know, before we went there would be morning like, you know, fried rice, right? Leftover rice from the night before, an egg and coffee, right? To that night, which is like, you know, sinigang or nilaga or even adobo, or her favorite was a bistec or beefsteak, right?
Oh, beefsteak.
And then coming here was very different just because of the ingredients that we had and the availability of processed foods that we had. So my lunches were a little bit different. My grandma still cooked for me and for the family for a little bit. And I remember my baon or my brown bag lunch would be rice and like a hamburger patty. Or like rice and like a hot dog, you know? With like,
totally, yes.
Yeah, right? And so I was like, oh, this is awesome, right? Like,
wait, you thought it was awesome?
I thought it was awesome because it was different, right? It was like American food, but it was like, you know, like that's what I thought. And then, of course, coming home would be, you know, your sinigang, your nilaga. And so I had like a mixture of both, but, you know, yeah. But I still remember that. To me, that's like still pretty cool because it came from my grandma.
Yeah.
So, Sarahlynn, you know, you grew up in the Midwest, correct? Chicago.
Yes. Outside Chicago.
Outside Chicago. How do you know? We grew up in California. More or less, it was a lot of things were very readily available in terms of like Filipino food.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's like that in Chicago, but has it always been like that?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I mean, when I was growing up, if we wanted to get Asian ingredients, like we would always, I remember taking trips to Chinatown. So like driving from the suburbs to come into Chinatown to buy whatever my mom or my auntie who had come up from Indianapolis needed to make Filipino food. I don't even think, I mean, we went to, I know there's like turo-turos and I actually have written a chapter in a book about the food history of Chicago. So Filipinos have been here and been making food for like a long time. So since the early 1900s.
Yeah.
But when my personal experience, I would not say it was readily available. Like we had, I think, Filipino American grocery stores in the city. And then in those places you could get a turo-turo, but in the suburbs at that point when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't really around. Not that I could see. So yeah.
I think that's kind of the story here too. Like when I was growing up, there was only one Filipino, I think, like restaurant / grocery store, like when I like in the 80s, and then like as people migrated here to LA to the Valley, then like
suburb, yeah.
then you saw like more grocery stores, more restaurants, and then it's like, and then come 90s, it was like full on like Island Pacific grocery store, like Seafood City was here, like Valerio, the bakery, like then I mean, it's hard to recall a time where that didn't exist. And then I think it's when you travel when you're like, oh, like I can't get a barbecue stick.
Yeah.
Like what? Then you're like, oh, then you realize like how you value those institutions in your community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here in Chicago, we've had Mitsuwa would probably be one major, Japanese grocery store that we've had in the suburbs, like near the suburb where I grew up. And then we've had H Mart too for a while, and then a couple of others. But we just got our first Seafood City this year.
I saw that.
I know, I
We
saw that.
Congratulations.
It's huge.
And I saw like there's a huge line when Jollibee opened. That's insane.
Yeah, that was like
ate
people came
Jollibee
from all over the Midwest just to like eat Chicken Joy, dudes. Like, I mean, yeah, it was like a migration. You're like, Mecca is close. Like, let's go,
So
oh my gosh.
I know for
Everybody's
sure
crazy for it. And
that happened here. That totally happened here.
Yeah, I think when the first one opened here was in Carson. And there was lines
And
there.
my aunt drove from the Valley to Carson just to have Jollibee. I didn't do that because I didn't grow up with Jollibee, so I had no idea what it was.
It's a giant bee.
how far is that?
For like to go from the Valley to Carson, that's probably like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like miles wise, that's probably like 20-30 miles.
Yeah,
you think about
a little
it.
longer, but
It's like, why would you go that far for a Chicken Joy? Like that makes no sense.
it's so good.
Funny enough, when my cousins from Australia like were visiting this past May, like my go-to when I pick up anybody from LAX is to take them to In-N-Out because that's our torchbearer burger joint. So I told my cousin, like, do you want to go to In-N-Out? And I realized the last time she was here, she wasn't a big fan of burgers because she didn't eat burgers. And then I was like, you want to go to Jollibee? And she's like, you have Jollibee here? And I'm like, yeah. So I took my cousins to Jollibee in Carson, and it's kind of sketchy. It's kind of hood. I mean, it's Carson. What up, Carson? And my cousins in Australia were like, wow, it's like we're in the Philippines right now. Like everyone's Filipino, and like not everybody was actually Filipino in the Jollibee. I'm pretty sure like some fool was Samoan, and like there's some Mexican folks in there.
Hey Samoans. Hey,
Hi
Mexicans.
Samoan fans.
Hey.
They were just like flipping out because they were like, I haven't had Jollibee since I was back in the Philippines because I guess in Australia they don't have Jollibee like locations. So I was just like, oh. The fact that bringing you to a Carson Jollibee is what you want for visiting America is such like Filipino diaspora conversation.
I know.
And you could write a dissertation on it.
No. It took forever to write mine. So. So I remember when Jollibee first opened. I mean, the first one was in Daly City. And then around 2000, 2001, for some reason I made it a point to try to eat at every Jollibee in the States. And so I go to like Union City, I go to Carson, when
Did you
it
go to
opened,
Queens?
Long Beach.
That is a
See,
good
that's
mission.
The thing is, once it started opening like out of California, I was like, I can't do it. It's like, it's too impossible. There's too many now.
Oh,
There's like there's like I think 20 something now
I'll
in
help
the
you.
States.
I'll help you.
You help me?
Yeah.
I'll help you. I can eat a chicken joy in every.
No, but then like I don't know. I went to the doctor and they said my diabetes is
you have high
very
blood
high. I have
pressure.
high blood.
You have high cholesterol.
Yeah, because they still fry their pies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The peach mango pies. Deep
so
fried.
good.
I know.
I actually was at a holiday thing the other day, and my contribution was Jollibee.
Nice.
Like I got the bucket A. It came with a bucket of chicken, 3 peach mango pies, and 3 sides.
This is making me really hungry.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm so hungry right now. But it was
We really
so
should have
good.
ordered takeout or something.
So how are the Filipino restaurants in Chicago?
What do you mean? How are they?
I mean, it's mostly like turo places. Has there been kind of non-turo places that opened up? Have they closed or?
Oh, yeah, we have I think a broader selection of Filipino food choices as far as dining out. Definitely since I was growing up. So we always have the mom and pop turo places for sure. We have those joints. And there's not really let me add a little side note. There's not really an area where there's like a little Manila. Like we're pretty dispersed. Like there are certain neighborhoods and certain suburbs where there are a lot of or more Filipinos, but we're not concentrated in a like historic area. So having said that, we also have like a couple of pop-ups here, like ourselves. We've got there's another chef, Chef Chrissy Kamba. She was on Top Chef. She runs a pop-up called Matty's Dumpling House, which focuses on dumplings. And she often has Filipino dishes on her menu. And we also did a pop-up with her, a collaboration last January. And then we've got a couple of farmers market places too, like Hapa Chicago. And they're a little bit more, Gil is Filipino American, so they often have like Filipino dishes on there too, but it's kind of like broadly Pan-Asian. And then Chef Christine Subito, she used to have a brick and mortar restaurant, but now it's transitioned to being at 2 farmers markets in the city, and she and her mom do that all year round. We've also got a couple of restaurants which are a little bit more high end, but neither of them claim that they're like strictly Filipino American. So there's other items on the menu. So there's Sunda, which is like what do they call themselves? New Asian. So it's like Pan-Asian. And then
That's Rod Uglibot.
yes.
Yeah.
So he has a place out in the suburbs called Earth and Ocean, or E&O. And that's also like, they have a couple of, it's more Pan-Asian as well. I'm glad you know about them.
Oh, because Rod, he was actually he opened a restaurant here in LA like 10 years ago or something like that, and then he tried to do it. I forgot what it was called. It was on Fairfax, 3rd and Fairfax. I forgot the name. E Cuisine. Why?
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
I never got to go to it.
Yeah.
It's not open anymore?
No, it's called Mercado now. It's like a.
Yeah.
It's right near the farmers market.
YI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so after that, he moved to Seattle, and then after that, he moved to Chicago and opened up Sunda. And that's actually, it's a good place. It's a good place.
I remember that restaurant, and I wanted to go to it. And
yeah,
then
we were all like, hey, how do we promote this?
Yeah.
Right? Because it was like, it doesn't sound
Yeah.
Phil-Am, but, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad he's got success then in Chicago.
Yeah. So
For sure.
I didn't know he opened one up in the suburbs. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, he and I think he's got 2 business partners. So he's the executive chef, obviously. So they have that place. And then I know he's also opened like a Japanese spot in Italy too.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. So Chef Rod, he's really awesome. We've had a chance to sit down and talk with him, and he's like super knowledgeable about the food industry. So he's definitely like a good mentor for anybody out there looking for one in the food world.
So yeah, it sounds like there's a lot going on in Chicago. That's kind of cool.
TFAL
really
retreat.
Cool. I know, we should go there.
I'm gonna go in May.
You are?
Are you
I'm
really?
going for my friend Anthony's graduation.
Oh,
from law
that's
school,
right.
so
Yeah.
I'll probably.
Anthony's graduating from law school.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
cool.
I'll go to Chicago and
You should meet up.
Yeah,
soon.
Yo,
for sure.
yeah, hit me up. You
For
all are
sure.
welcome to Chicago
Food
anytime.
tour. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Do I have time off in May? I'm like, totally like, I'm gonna crash Ryan's trip.
So yeah, there's a lot going on in Chicago. There's actually a lot going on nationwide.
Yeah.
And Filipino kitchens, one of the forefronts at this kind of new buzz around Filipino food. What do you think about that? What do you think about the current buzz?
Yeah, because it feels like next big thing. Like we've always been on the verge for like 10 years.
Yeah, can we not be on the verge anymore?
I know.
Like,
Can we be the thing?
On the verge, near the edge,
Can we be the edge?
at the cliff.
can we hop over already? Jeez.
I mean, okay, so my cocky response to that is that like it's always been a big thing to me. So if you're just coming to it, then
That's your
fault.
bad.
that's cool.
It's your bad,
That's cool.
America.
Come on in, we good. But yeah, I think it's wonderful that Filipino Americans and Filipinos here in America and everywhere really all over the globe are understanding their food and celebrating their food more. There's not that like a Lunchables moment,
like
Eddie
fresh
Huang
out
where
the
it's like,
yeah.
I got my little Tupperware of rice and adobo and
Yeah.
it's smelly and people are looking at me funny. So I love that we can celebrate our food, and I love that we can start to very openly and loudly welcome people in and show people what we're all about and show ourselves what we're about too.
Mhm.
A lot of it is self-reflective, I think. So that part makes me really happy. It also makes me happy that, so for example, some of the conversations that have happened around like the halo thing, which I know we'll probably get to soon.
Speaking of the hollow thing, what your opinions?
This is like the age of the internet clapback. You can't get away with that anymore.
Nah.
Like Mr. Obscure newspaper printing in the 80s. Like everybody everywhere is going to know about your mess up, and we are going to let you know that we are not happy.
So for the listeners, Bon Appetit. Oh, Bon Appetit. They put out an article online about halo. I'm like, what's your version of it, or why it's so good? And their halo did not look like halo. It looked like garbage.
Dude, popcorn. That's good.
Yeah, popcorn is good. Gummy bears are good. Together on halo, quote unquote, sounds like garbage.
It is garbage. Yeah.
Like stoner garbage. And I don't even think stoners would appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us in the food world had discussions about this as like, we can feel that it's wrong, but why is it wrong? Like, you got to come with like the analysis, right? And so a friend, Sharwin T, he's a chef. He actually has his own food show in the Philippines, wrote this great piece on his blog about it. And basically, it wasn't the fact of like remixing, because obviously a dish like halo kind of begs to be remixed.
Yeah.
But it's just that it was careless. Like, what's going to happen to popcorn if you put it in a bunch of ice? Like, is that going to taste good? I mean, and I've never tried the gummy bears, but when they kind of get all hard and
Exactly.
tough to chew, I mean,
Yes.
we got a lot of textural chewy things already in halo,
there's
and like
beans in it already.
maybe you don't want to go out and buy nata de coco. I don't know why you wouldn't want to buy it, but like, yeah, it's just that it doesn't make sense that and then it wouldn't execution wise actually be a good dish.
Yeah.
That's the part I think that people that I could say I was upset about, and I know that Charwin was upset about too.
So I wonder if the author actually tried making it before he wrote the recipe, and
like ate it.
and ate it
It was like, yeah, this is great. And we're like, what's wrong with you?
I highly doubt it.
Yeah, like my friend, that came out around Halloween-ish in October, and my friend Bev, she's the one whose Halloween costume was Halo Halo.
Yeah.
Like she has a history of like crafting her own costumes every year, so she like pulled felt, and it was
brilliant, by the way.
It was so good, and her costume itself was a clap back, and she was like, "This is what real Halo Halo looks like," you know. And she even had like a piece of ube and like a flan like necklace, like a ube was her headband, and we'll post a picture again. And it was perfect because it was like it was so timely and also so delicious. And now again, I am hungry. Hello, even though I'm going to say something that is probably controversial. I don't really like Halo Halo.
You can say you don't like red bean because I don't like red bean.
I don't like.
in Halo
Okay,
Halo.
so
like the bean
I don't
part.
like the bean part of Halo Halo. Like if I ever get Halo Halo from like Jollibee or from Bahay Kubo, I tend to eat everything on top and then leave the beans on the bottom.
So
I'll
did
eat
you
the
advise
jellies.
this guy putting the gummy bears?
No,
I'm just kidding.
no, because I love the jellies. I love all of that. I love the ube. I love the flan. I love the condensed milk. And then you get to the bottom, and you're like,
It's just the red bean. It's just
It's
the beans.
okay.
I don't like it, but
See, I'm not the
but
only
I don't.
one.
It's not that I don't like Halo Halo. Halo Halo's the
Well,
best.
I mean,
I actually prefer mais con hielo over Halo Halo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
that's hard to find.
Oh,
It's ice and corn.
I know. You can just make it.
But like, this is true.
Where can we find corn in America?
Shut up, Brian.
Just kidding.
Shut your face.
Get that corn out of my face.
So yeah. So going back to the article, that's that's also kind of the bad side of this kind of current Filipino buzz, right, around Filipino food.
Like that video of kids eating Filipino food.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I didn't see
Did you watch that?
Did you watch that
Sarahlynn?
video?
Yeah, I did see that. You know, and that I don't know. I've only watched it the one time, and I don't have any kids, number one, so I can't. But I do have a niece, and like she is a picky eater, so I've had a little bit of experience trying to feed children, like, and broaden their culinary horizons, and it was not a fun experience.
So-
like, finish your food.
I'm on the I'm on the side of it where I'm like, oh, it's cute, and like also I'm on the side of I had those exact same reactions when I was a
Exactly.
kid and I ate those things.
Yeah, but I'm also on this. For me, I'm on the side of, they're picking American kids who are already conditioned to have certain culinary tastes.
But that one
yet-
one little brown boy was like, "Mom, why do you eat this?"
Well, I didn't watch the video, but
Okay.
based on what you're saying, but isn't that why it's kids though? Because maybe they don't have a sophisticated palate yet,
yeah.
and maybe perhaps.
Yeah, but okay, if you do the same thing with Filipino kids who grown up in the Philippines,
We should find some.
What kind of reaction
and make
would that
them
take?
eat American cheese. Make them eat.
I'm just saying, like it's
No, I get it.
in a sense, although it was quote unquote innocent, it's kind of shaming certain
Filipino
Filipino foods.
Okay.
Right?
I haven't seen the video,
Yeah.
so I can't wait to watch it. So.
It does. I can see the valid points of those conversations, but just it's my privilege, right? As
Yeah.
a Filipino American growing up here, like I remember having duduguan and like loving it, and then someone would be like, "Oh, you're eating pig's blood," and I'm like, "So I'm still gonna shove it in my mouth because it's delicious." And like the same with balut. I mean, I loved balut as a child. I was not fearful of it at all. And then I stopped eating balut because I choked on a beak.
Oh,
And I was just like in the restaurant and I was like, oh, I can't. And then I'm like, what's lodged in my throat? And I'm like, it's the beak of this little duckling. That I'm eating. And then my mom was just like, spit it out, spit it out. And I'm like, and then I was like, I'm never eating balut ever again. So I didn't eat balut until a contest, like the hi-fi scavenger hunt. You had to eat it, and Mike refused to eat the balut, so I was tasked to eating it, including the stone, which pissed me off because whoever eats the stone of balut, I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
no, you can't eat that.
Yeah.
They make you eat it in the contest.
That's
You're-
No.
That's why you do the other side because the other one's too
right? Like,
hard.
why would you eat the stone? It's the worst part.
But curious about this video again. I still haven't seen it, but how would you then expose? Right? What's the smart way or the? because clearly from this is like, if you want to expose kids to different culinary tastes, for example, or maybe a way to expose them to Filipino food that they're not accustomed to, how would you do it smartly? And I guess this is the conversation with
Smartly.
Filipino Kitchen, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what that's essentially what you're trying to do, right?
Right? Look at that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't have any kids, but it's like, I think maybe just getting them more involved in the process,
Right.
like cooking,
Yeah.
Understanding that this pork was a pig
Right.
and this chicken breast, which is like shrink wrapped, was a chicken. Like running around, like kind of understanding what these things are. And I think a lot of it could maybe be like textural too. And maybe if they kind of see the process more beginning to end as much as they can. I don't know. I would love some parents to like chime in on this, but maybe that would help. But I think kids are just picky sometimes.
Yeah,
That's true.
Also, like American food doesn't look like food. If you think about it, like a hamburger, that's something that was created. But like
Right.
Filipino food, like if you say this is oxtail and you look at kare kare, I'm like, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's a chopped up piece of meat, so I'm going to assume it's a tail. Or if you're like, food does not look like chicken nuggets does not look like a chicken. But a kid's
Right.
go-to is always chicken nuggets. And like,
Essentially, they're eating the same food. It's just presented in a certain different way.
that's all it is. Yeah.
I mean, they're eating all the intestines and the offals and the offals and the
Like
organs.
you could just tell them like,
But it's all processed
this
into
hot
chicken
dog
nuggets.
you're eating,
Yeah.
it can also come in the form of denugo.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's the same thing, kind
Yeah.
of. Unless it's kosher, it wouldn't be blood. It'd be beef.
So, going back to, I guess, quote unquote, mainstreaming Filipino food, it also comes, as we were talked about, it does come with problems, right? In mainstreaming, does that necessarily equal, like, if Filipino food becomes mainstream, does that mean there's going to be shitty Filipino food restaurants?
Like $1 Chinese food.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know, like a bunch of Olive Gardens or something. Although Olive Garden's kind of cool.
No, it's not, Joe. Don't say that.
But there's so much soup and salad.
I don't care about those breadsticks.
There are there's a certain price you pay, for example, to when Filipino food
mainstream.
becomes popular and mainstream, right? And there's issues of stuff we could talk about, maybe like gentrification,
Right.
classism, Columbusing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I
Yes.
think that's why I think we have an opportunity, or even maybe the Filipino Kitchen or us talking about it, to do it in a smart way. And what I mean by that is things are going to jump the shark, right? Like you're going to have places that are interesting for a certain time, and to be part of that, like, I don't know if you want to call it the culinary zeitgeist. We I believe that we take the good with the bad, and
the
unfortunately
good,
we
take
haven't
the bad.
gotten to that good yet, or maybe we were talking about being on the verge. But I don't know. First of all, I don't know what mainstream Filipino food is, or what I would call it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would love to at least get there and then deal with the.
All those other issues.
Well, because you're gonna have copycats, you're gonna have silliness, and you're gonna have people that are gonna make crappy food.
Yeah.
I mean, it's within any kind of
So what do you think, Sarahlynn?
Yeah.
Well, like in your work.
Yeah, I think right now, I think there are definitely probably communities and areas where it's like, well, no, I'm going to be the Filipino restaurant here. No, I'm going to be the Filipino restaurant here. It's like, well, why can't there be room for
All
a
of
bunch of
us.
us,
Yeah.
right? Number one.
Totally.
And then, yeah, I totally agree. I would love to have the problem to, be able to have so many Filipino restaurants that are trying to be as good as possible for what they are, that, and be able to, at some point, internet clap back the missteps of our own. Because, there's going to be some people like, they're just, they're going to make mistakes, and, that's just par for the course. But like, yeah, I mean, I think if you look at it, what's mainstream going to be like? Is it going to be an Olive Garden? Is it going to be, possibly like a puti chef, like making a big name for himself, probably, or herself with Filipino
Probably him.
cuisine? Do you know what I mean? Like, these are the things that I think about.
Tony
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Partains.
Yeah.
Toro.
Yeah.
And I guess kind of like Jollibee is sort of like the Panda Express of the Philippines.
Totally.
But it's owned by Filipinos, so
I mean,
I'm cool with that.
L&L is somewhat similar, but it's Hawaiian, but that's owned by Filipinos.
Yeah.
I mean, and at the end of the day, I would honestly rather the money go to a Filipino American rather than, I mean, whatever that makes me, it's just my honest opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
I would rather have a brother or sister getting that money.
Yeah.
And because in the end, that person, even though they may be making mistakes or maybe not giving as much context to our cuisine as they possibly could, I feel like there's at least that chance that they will come around to it and that they will. And that they, because they have that birthright, they could be a really wonderful ambassador for our cuisine and for our community, actually. So I welcome that. And I don't know if you guys saw that piece in Esquire Philippines. It was entitled, it was something about like, well, our cuisine is not ours anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it was doomsday scenario kind of like it was a little too pessimistic. And that it's basically saying that we should accept all the problems that comes with mainstreaming Filipino food. Right? More or less.
And yet and I think it also said like, well, we released it out into the world.
Yeah.
And so now we can't hold on to it. That's the part I disagree with.
Yeah. So
that's the part I was like, no, that's ours.
I think it's like, because for most of America, like when you think Asian food, you just immediately jump to Chinese food, right? Like, like in TV, the quintessential Chinese delivery, and like people complain like you can't get egg rolls the same as delivery, blah blah blah, and then like Thai food seems to be like the number 2 in terms of like what people mainstream food.
Japanese.
No, I don't think Japanese. I mean, Japanese. It's not like I'm thinking in terms of like delivery.
Oh, delivery. Okay.
Like what's easily accessible for somebody to get delivered? Chinese food, Thai food. I guess Japanese food, kind of. But I feel like that's another like very like SoCal-y thing, SoCal reference thing. Like sushi spots, every strip mall is a legit thing that is here.
Yeah.
But Filipino food is not on that level of like, if you're trying to order lunch with your colleagues, like, let's go order. Like, I've witnessed it at the dentist, right? Or my Filipino dentist when they're ordering lunch. And they're like, oh, I want original Thai barbecue. And then they're like, S8. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, S8 chicken satay combo. Like, I already know, I know it. It's permeated in my mind. Like, when will Filipino food be like that? Like, I want combo number 2.
Okay.
Like,
well, let me ask this philosophical question. And, especially to Sarahlynn, I want to hear your opinion. Why is there an imperative to mainstream Filipino food? Like, what's wrong with keeping it insular within our communities? Like, why is it necessary?
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with keeping food for ourselves. And I think we should enjoy and celebrate and patronize these businesses. But the imperative is that these businesses need to succeed. And they're not going to succeed if it's just Filipinos going to these restaurants. Like, especially in a place like Chicago. Like, Chicago has 140,000 Filipinos here, approximately, like according to the last census. And if you think about the geographic area that Chicago Metro encompasses, you need customers, lunch and dinner, snack time, breakfast, and you need to build a community. A lot. I mean, I've been in with so many discussions about like, why aren't Filipino restaurants taking off? Like, they go from like 0 to 3 years and then they drop off. And it's like, well, first of all, restaurants as a business venture are really difficult. Number one. And it takes a community, and this whole customers. Well, I'm not going to pay $20 for this adobo. You got to just drop that. I'm serious. I'm not saying you got to get there every week, but think about it this way. What if you've been getting bomb ass $20 adobo your whole life for free? Think about that. And only now are you going to get a really bomb ass Filipino adobo, like maybe in a nice restaurant downtown, and it's like Filipino food in a setting like you've never had it before.
I think that's a key component to it as well, is like our community needs to get over the hump of, I can get this better at home. I can get this better if my mom made this, or my mom makes this better than this restaurant that I am paying $20 for. I think for Filipinos, I hear that argument amongst my peers a lot. I obviously never have that argument because, as I said, I cannot get that at home because my mom is not a good cook. And apparently none of our moms are good cooks.
But I've been thinking about this in a being like a food appreciator, right? I like to eat.
I'm totally making you that business card, by the way.
But there's the aspect of eating food for sustenance, and the aspect of eating food because it's delicious, and then there's the business aspect of it.
Yes.
And I think that's why I keep going back to the responsibility of those who are actually making good food or exploring the possibility of making it quote unquote mainstream, right? And in the business aspect of it is on philosophical level is, if we don't do it, who's gonna do it? If not Filipino Americans are going to do it, then damn it, that boutique guy from God knows where who's going to decide to come back to the States because he's been stationed in the Philippines forever is going to make a restaurant, and next thing you know, we're going to be all pissed off. Yeah. The reason we're pissed off, by the way, is because we have a ton of half-baked ideas
and no one is
and we've not done it yet, and we get pissed off because we're like, dude, I could be making $20 a pop and I've been making adobo forever.
I was totally thinking it's going to be some white guy married to some Filipino girl who takes all of the recipes from that Filipino girl's family and then makes a ton of money.
But you know what I mean. There's just the business aspect of things, right? So going back to like Aling Minda, right? It's not like my dad couldn't make lugao. It's just that he couldn't make it every day. This lady decides, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur about it.
I got one thing. I make it really good.
I'm gonna make it really
I'll
good.
make it every day.
I'll make it every day, and people are gonna come. And so there's the entrepreneur model of what we're talking about, and the business model of what we're talking about, where perhaps we've been talking about it as a next big thing. It's not the next big thing because we're all of a sudden gonna invite all these people to our family parties. It's the next big thing in the culinary guide and the Zagats and the Yelps. It's the next big thing as a
in
business.
the Jonathan Gold list,
right?
Yeah.
In that we have something to share is something to be proud of. Now, again, not being done, the things that come after that is also
the repercussions of all of it. Yeah,
exactly.
But that's inherent in this whole mainstreaming.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's the business, and to quote, my love of hip hop, it's all about, get bitches, get money. I mean, so like, like, if we want these restaurants to work, we all need to make some money. And
that's true.
That is why, I mean, add the bitches, I guess, if you would like them. Okay. Right. But that's the mainstreaming of it is about making the dollar. It's about making that paper. It's about making money. And so for me, that's what I personally want our community to benefit from. Like, I want our community to be like, what do you want for lunch? I don't want original Thai barbecue today. I don't want Chipotle. I don't want Pick Up Sticks. I want the Park's Finest Barbecue.
Right.
I want belly and snout. And if they're on Postmates, great. Then like I'll have it delivered. Like, because at the end of the day, those businesses will get that money, and that's what we want.
Here's what I want, though. I want Joe to get credit for the Dinuguan Bowl or the Puto Bowl and Dinuguan.
That's not me. It's my friend.
Oh, is it? Oh, never mind.
We should totally copyright that, though.
So, Sarah, the work that you do and kind of the culinary world in general is very competitive. I mean, I'm not going to name any names, but there's a lot of haters and people kind of throw shade at each other.
People are petty boots.
How do you maintain community, like in the work that you do?
Oh gosh, well, that's a really good question. I think you have to stick to your values, and inevitably people are going to mess up. I'm going to mess up. I have messed up. And I think the difference is instead of like just avoiding that person at all costs, or like not going to that organization's whatever, or not going to that church, or, you know, going to that restaurant. It's like, own up, make amends, say you're sorry, be honest, ask for forgiveness, like move on. You know what I mean? Like, these are the things that I think, I mean, I've observed in the community and like in organizing spaces and just in general, that like beefs can really take us down. Yeah. Like beef can really, haterade can take us down. And like in the age of that we are post-election, like, hello, January 20th is right there.
Oh my
gosh. We need to stick together.
This will probably come out January 20th.
You know, we need to call in rather than call out, and we need to learn how to be better and do better, like, because the fight is here now. So like, you know, I don't know if I answered your question, but
no. I think you totally did.
It's the endless struggle of the Filipino American or Filipino crab mentality.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I think it's all communities. It's not just Filipinos.
True.
Yeah. We're also almost out of time, but I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
What do you see Filipino food, like the scene? Where do you see it going in the next year or two?
In the next year or two. You know, since we started in 2014, Natalia and I have had a chance to interview, meet, and build, collaborate with a number of chefs all over the world. And we're all saying the same thing. Like, I'm not just having like a kumbaya moment here. We really are saying the same thing. Like, this is our moment. We need to work together. We need to support each other. We need to like understand the integrity of the food. We need to be telling our stories. So I think we're just going to go on an upward growth trend. And I think as long as diners and media are doing their part in a way to foster a healthy ecosystem, as my friend Sharwin T spoke about in other podcasts, basically, we will continue to succeed in building community.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a nice way. Do you have any other questions, or do we end it on that? Because that is perfect.
That is very perfect.
Boom.
Okay.
Mic drop. Sarahlynn out.
Exactly.
Filipino kitchen out.
Okay. Where can people find you? On the webs?
On the internet.
On the internets. How do people contact you?
You can find us on our website, which is filipino.kitchen, or on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, although I'm not really too good at the Snapchat.
We're not good at the Snapchat.
Yeah. So subscribe to our email newsletter, follow us on any of our social media platforms, or all of them if you like. Come to Cultura Festival. It's going to be October 1st, 2017 here in Chicago.
Field trip.
Yeah. We're also planning a Filipino Food Symposium too. We're slating that for May potentially, but we're still in the planning stages of that. Yeah, you should come, because we definitely want all media to be there too.
Oh man, that'd be fun.
And yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Any shout outs or anything before you go?
Shout out to all my Midwest Pinoys.
Shout out
love you guys.
And to Natalia, who couldn't be here. We missed you.
But and to Natalia, very far away in Manila.
Yes.
And thank you all so much. Really love what you're doing. And I love that you're having these conversations and welcoming Pinoys from all over the spectrum, music, all the arts, I just love it. Just keep on.
Keep on keeping on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Get bitches, get money.
Title of this episode. Oh no.
If it is, I'll be so happy.
Cool. Well, thank you again so much, Sarahlynn.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
Now we have friends in Chicago.
We always
have friends, but we'll have more friends.
More friends in Chicago.
More friends.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's
it.
That's it.